transgender athlete ban.
Hi guys. This is pretty much been Jonathon Daily.
Some of you probably have seen stories and clips from the SCOTUS case. Give you a little details here. So as of today, the Supreme Court has heard the oral arguments, but have not issued a final merits decision on states that ban affected transgender girls/women in school sports. So the current SCOTUS case is actually two consolidated cases, Little versus Hecox, and that's in Idaho, and then West Virginia versus B.P.J. in West Virginia. Because there isn't a final ruling yet, we don't know when it's going to come out, but most likely it'll be around June. Good Lord. Can you, don't ever count on the Supreme Court to get anything done in a quick, fast manner. But hey, that's how it was designed by the founders, and it shouldn't. They should take their time. I don't know what would take so long in a case like this because it seems pretty common sense. But the only actual rulings so far were a prior emergency order that was filed by West Virginia in order to reinstate the ban because it's currently not instated, and the emergency order was denied. So B.P.J., the transgender female, which is a biological man in this case, is still able to be involved in women's sports until we get a ruling on this case. So basically, the Supreme Court's explicitly looking at what these bans violate the Equal Protection Clause and Title IX, sex discrimination in federally funded education. I'm going to play a clip. This is Justice Alito asking a very basic question to the lawyer that's arguing against the ban on transgender. And he literally is just asking, well, if we're going to decide if this is considered discrimination on the basis of sex, shouldn't we be able to define a boy or a girl so that we can know if discrimination is happening based on someone being a boy or a girl? So what's the definition of a boy or a girl? And the lawyer, I don't have a definition this time. Roll it.
Is it not necessary for there to be, for equal protection purposes, if that is challenged under the Equal Protection Clause, an understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that definition? For equal protection purposes, what does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think that the underlying enactment, whatever it was, the policy, the law, we'd have to have an understanding of how the state or the government was just understanding that term to figure out whether or not someone was excluded. We do not have a definition for the court. And we don't take issue with we're not disputing the definition here. What we're saying is that the way it applies in practice is to exclude birth sex males categorically from women's teams, and that there's a subset of those birth sex males where it doesn't make sense to do so according to the state's own interest.
Well, how can a court determine whether there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means for equal protection purposes?
I think here we just know that we basically know that that they've identified pursuant to their own statute.
So yeah, common sense is no longer common sense, but based on the arguments, and that wasn't the only good clip from that story, there's a terrible clip of Justice Jackson, who's just an absolute moron, trying to make an argument, and I'm sure she'll be on the dissent when the majority opinion comes out saying that the ban on transgender women being in women's sports is upheld, because absolutely, just think about it, it doesn't make any sense because anybody can identify as any sex at any time, so... Oh, you're discriminating based on him being a boy. Well, no, I identify as a girl now. It has to be immutable, unchangeable things, and gender identity can change according to their own logic. It doesn't make any sense how you could do that, because then it's like literally saying, it's like saying that you can discriminate on the basis of race, right? Well, if you can identify as any race, how could you possibly ever discriminate? Oh, I'm going to discriminate because this person's black. Well, what if they identify as white? What if you discriminate against me for being white? But hey, actually, I identify as black. So, dang, my microphone died. Anyway, it doesn't make any sense. And in fact, it's a lot easier because there's only melanin is the only thing that separates races. It's just color of your skin. So it makes much more sense to be able to claim and identify as a different race than it does to be able to identify as a different sex. Sex, your boy versus girl, there are things down to your cellular DNA, and even your bones are different. But when it comes to different races, the only difference is the amount of melanin, which changes your skin color. So if people out there be like, oh, that's not fair, you can't just claim it makes more sense if you're going to go with that logic. It makes more sense to be able to claim you're a part of a different race than to claim that you're part of a different sex, scientifically speaking.
For the latest in case updates, legal tips, news, and politics, make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and our other socials, and above all, subscribe on YouTube.
get your dose of excellence on a daily basis.